Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you have ever wondered how objects differ between JavaScript and TypeScript, or why so many developers are switching to TypeScript, you are in the right place. Today, I will walk you through JavaScript versus TypeScript objects side by side and show you real code and explain why TypeScript gives you code superpowers. Let us go. This is my Visual Studio Code. Here, this is my favorite editor to edit JavaScripts and TypeScripts and HTMLs, right? So this is my JavaScript where I want to create an object. How to create an object? Let's say I want to create an object of type const and user is equal to, I want to define an object type. In this object, I can define a name. Let's say name I want to give Peter, and I want to add another property called as age. Let's say age is 30, right? And I want to define another property, let's say is admin, and is admin, it is kind of boolean true, right? So when you define this as in JavaScript object and you want to access the object, you can type console.log, right? Console.log, and you can get it user.name, right? So when you type this user.name and try to print this information, what you get, let me test. If you save it and test it, let us see how it look like. I'm connecting to this to index HTML to test how it works. Right now this is loading here. Now I will go to the more tools and developer tool and see what it is printing. You see, it is printing Peter, right, in the console. But it's because I have taken correct name. What if I take or do a type mistake? Let's say like this. This do not give you error in here because JavaScript do not have compile time error checking, right? In JavaScript, objects are flexible. Now, if you run this, what will happen? You will see undefined, right? So there is a chance in object JavaScript objects, there is a chance that you can type mistake, do a type mistake, and it will throw an error in runtime. But in TypeScript, you can get all everything in compile time. Okay. In JavaScript, objects are flexible. You can create them with any shape. For example, if I want to add another attribute here, let's say user dot, let's say degree, and I want to add a option here. Let's say MCA. Here also I want to add this, right? Now, when I can add this property to object, I can access the degree also. Let's say I want to print degree also here, so I can copy and print here. Now if I'll save it, I can see the it is printing the degree, right? So object is very much flexible in JavaScript, okay? And there is no type checking in the compile time. That is an issue, but this flexibility can lead to issues like if you accidentally use some wrong key. For example, here I am using wrong key, right? So when you accidentally use wrong key, then it will cause an issue and your entire day will be wasted, right? No warnings, no errors, right? So just box waiting to happen, right? And if it would be happen in the writing in compile time, it would be better, right? TypeScript is that which is actually solves the issue. You can define proper types and proper shape of the object in TypeScript. That is very safe, right? So, for example, let's say I want to define this type of type in TypeScript. So I'll go to the index type TypeScript, and this is the main TypeScript file. Here I want to create a constant. So I want to create another variable. Let's say uh, permanent user. Okay, and this is the TypeScript. So I want to create a object here, and when you declare a type, you have to define a type here. This type will help you to define what should be the type or the object will have the property types. Now here let's say name I want to define. So name, it should be string. So I'll define it as a string. Next age, and I want to define age as number, right? And is boolean or is admin, I want to define age boolean, right? Now this way I'm telling the script that my object will only take these three restricted types, and you can assign the objects. If you want to create an object, you can create a type, let's say const, let's say user1, and it is of type permanent user is equal to, you can assign values. Now if you see, as soon as you create a variable of type this user type object type, it is showing error here. The parameter expression is missing because name age is admin is missing. So because this object is having three parameters which is mandatorily assigned, mandatorily accepting to initialize, you have to assign here, let's say name equal to name, let's say Alish, and age, let's say 40, and age admin false, for example, right? This is how you can initialize. You cannot initialize wrong value here. If you initialize wrong value, it will automatically show you error at this moment in compile time. No need to run it. But in JavaScript, you cannot get these errors in compile time, right? So all properties are tightly bind with its properties. That's why the name TypeScript, it is typed language of JavaScript. JavaScript and TypeScript is no difference. All concepts are same, except some concept, that is in TypeScript every variables are strongly typed. You cannot define var is used in JavaScript, right, for runtime variables. Now here you have to only give the type that is accepting as variable. Okay. Also, if you want to type console.log and inside that you want to pass user1 dot degree, it will show error. Why? Because degree is not part of this object. But in case of JavaScript, it will not throw error. You can only get this error in runtime, right? And if you want to access any component or any property from here, you can just search it and use it. Okay. And you cannot bind here. Let's say you want to use user1 dot, you cannot bind anything extra here because that is predefined. The property collection for the object is predefined. Okay. That is the beauty of TypeScript. So the point here is, in TypeScript we use interface also sometimes, or types. Okay, you can make it interface also. Instead of type, if you want to use as an interface which is not available in JavaScript, you can also declare an interface, and interface like structure, so that this you can ignore this equal to and create an interface like this. This also works fine. So types and interface, there are small difference, we'll talk in next video. But right now you can see, you can define types, object types, and make it strongly typed so that you have predefined shape for the object. Although it is not that much flexible like JavaScript, but it will give you less error while writing your code, right? That's why TypeScript ensures that every key exists and has a correct type. That is very important. That's why developers do less mistake, right? You cannot assign, if you assign, let's say age is equal to, it will throw error. Why? Because age is accepting as a number. There is no error. But when you accept this, when you give a value of string, it will show error. Now you got an idea that how JavaScript objects and TypeScript objects are different. And as a developer, I can say we always prefer TypeScript because it will give you less error in runtime, right? Because in TypeScript you get compile time safety. When you are writing your code, it is giving error. That is very important. So smarter autocomplete, it will automatically complete in a smart way, right? And it also gives us confidence in our object structure, right? Because s- typing mistake is always there, right? If you write something in JS and if you done a mistake, right, like typing name to ANME, then it will not showing error here in compile time, which is showing here in index in TypeScript, right? That was very important. So type checking is not done in JavaScript, but in case of TypeScript, type checking is mandatory and it is important. That's why we are moving to TypeScript, which helps developers to do less error in writing code. Okay. In JavaScript, you do not find any structure enforcement. Here I have enforced a structure that my object should have only three properties with three different types: string, number, boolean. In addition, except these three, it do not accept anything else. So that enforcement is there in TypeScript, but where as in JavaScript it is not there. It is very much flexible, right? Right? It can also catch typo errors. If you by mistakenly type something here, user dot this, it will find out that there is a typo error. Or if you search here age, then if you mouse over it, will give you the typo error, right? So this is the option, and also you can mark some properties in TypeScript as read only. Let's say I don't want to make this property editable, then also you can mark it editable. So if you change this to true and you mark edge true, and you want to change it user one dot is admin equal to false, then it will show error. Why? Because the read-only properties cannot be assigned. So inside property, you can also define which property inside object you can also define which properties you want to make it read-only, so that in object initialization the value cannot be changed. So TypeScript may take a few extra keystrokes, but it saves hours of debugging later, right? Maybe the code may be slightly lengthy or slightly extra step, like here we are defining enforcement type and enforcement, which is not required for JavaScript, but it saves time, right? Later on, if there is any issue in JavaScript, we need to debug, but here it is saved. Debugging steps are saved because of compile time error checking, right? And also another important, let's say you are defining a type and you want to make age optional, then also it is possible. For example, let's say when you are creating an user one object of type this permanent user object and you want to remove this, you will see error here. Why? Because it is telling that you have initialized user one object, user one variable of type permanent user object, but you have not assigned age. So sometimes when you want that one in one object, you want one property optional, you can make it a question mark so that it will be optional. So in TypeScript also, inside an object you can make one property optional, so that whenever it is gets initialized, the value is not mandatory, right? So using TypeScript saves time for debugging. You know, when we in JavaScript we bang our head multiple times because of runtime errors. TypeScript saves us time. Okay. Now the point here is, so you understand interlace, like JavaScript gives you flexibility, but TypeScript gives you structure and peace of mind, right? Maybe it requires some extra code, but it gives you peace of mind. If you liked this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more dev content. And let me know in the comments, are you a team of JavaScript or TypeScript? And I recommend, if you're still in JavaScript, please switch to TypeScript because it will save your time, and it is easy to write also, because in compile time it will give you the errors in a better way. Okay. So thank you everyone watching this video. See you next time with different topics.